Yes, you're listening to Freedom Friday. Sitting in the studio with me today is my good friend and our Canadian correspondent, Mike Shoesmith. Mike, thank you for being with us today.
Hello, Florida. Hello, Carl Gallups.
Well, it's awesome for you to be here. I mean,
can't believe
it's a pretty good drive from Toronto.
Very surreal, I know.
It is
amazing
surreal.
to be here, really.
But it's good to have you. And folks, for those of you that would like to see Mike Shoesmith, go to carlgallups.com, click under my picture there to the Ustream, and you can watch us. We're broadcasting live right now. Mike's waving at the camera.
There you are.
I'll wave at the camera. Hello.
Right.
But we're broadcasting live right now on Ustream, and you can connect with us at carlgallups.com very, very easily. We have a lot of viewers and a ton of listeners. By the way, if you want to call and be a part of the show, and we've got callers all over the line here, 850-623-1330, 850-623-1330. All right, let's wrap up the conversation we were having, then we're going straight to the lines. We've got already had a caller from New York. We got another one from the Gulf Coast. We got one now from South Carolina. People all over the nation listening. This is your opportunity, folks, to be heard by the nation and the world by tuning in and being a part of Freedom Friday. All right, so we were talking about Jars of Clay, this Christian band with this reputation for many, many years of being pretty solid folks. Danny Boy, that's what we're calling him because we don't know exactly how to say his last name. It's Hasseltine, I think, Hasseltine. He said recently, he's in the news saying he can't think of a single reason why homosexuals can't be married. And he says that he doesn't understand what conservatives see in the scriptures that would stop them. And I was making the point that, look, what somebody does behind their closed doors is none of my business. It's none of the government's business. Now, I tell you, it's God's business, according to the Word of God. Now, folks, hear me. I come from a biblical worldview. I'm unashamed of that. Somebody says, well, I'm an atheist. Okay, you come from a secular worldview. Fine. Somebody says, well, I'm a Muslim. Okay, you come from an Islamic worldview. Fine, that's you. So I'll respect you. You respect me now, okay? I come from a biblical worldview. And the Word of God is clear. We are each accountable with our soul and our actions to the God that created us, especially through Jesus Christ, who died on Calvary's cross, rose from the grave to prove that He is the Lord of life. All right, now, so what someone does behind closed doors, I don't want the government looking in their windows. I don't want the churches looking in their windows. I'm certainly not going to look in their windows. I don't want to look in their windows.
Consenting adults.
That's right. Now, I know that they are accountable to God. Now, as a pastor, I care about their souls. As a Christian, I care about them. So I don't want to say I don't care what they do. I do care, but it's none of my business. But when they bring it into the streets, into the public arena, and say, celebrate it, call it normal, pay for it, like it, or else we're going to be mad at you, we're going to put you in jail, we're going to trash you, we're going to slander you, we're going to call you politically incorrect. That's where I draw the line. You see, that's where I say, I don't give a rip what you think. Okay, you do it behind closed doors. That's up to you. But besides this whole homosexual agenda, what is it about fundamentally and foundationally? It's about the way two people choose to engage in sex.
That's right. There's only when it comes to sexuality, folks. There's only two kinds of people.
That's it.
Those having sex and those not having sex.
That's right. So
that's it.
So now we get to Hasseltine, or Danny Boy, let's call him Danny Boy, says, I can't think of a single reason. Well, let me just give you a couple of reasons here. From a biblical worldview, this is not Carl Gallup's opinion. This is God's opinion, okay? According to the Word of God.
Before you go there, though, let me ask you this. Why is this not bigotry, though? That your opinion...
I'll tell you why it's not bigotry. It's not bigotry because, you see, if... Let me put it like this. What an individual does, okay, let me say it like this. Let me get my words together here. I do not believe that God judges an entire nation, let's say, because there are people in it who are homosexually inclined. I mean, homosexuality has been around for thousands of years. But it seems from the biblical and historical perspective that where God brings judgment on a nation is when the nation embraces it.
Right.
You see. And the nation says it's okay, and the nation legalizes it. Then God says, you know what? You've taken individual sin and you have celebrated it. You have legalized it. Now my judgment is coming. Okay? All right. Now, it is not bigotry for me to say to a person who's involved in homosexual relationship, let me tell you what the Word of God says. This is His love for you. He's the one that created us. He's the one that created sexuality. All right? He knows how everything works.
That's right.
And He knows why it works, the way it works. Okay? He knows what will happen from. Romans chapter 1 is very clear. He calls it a perversion. And he says if you engage in it, it will come to pay in your body. It says that in the Bible, folks. This is not what Carl Gallups is saying. And you're saying right now, there are people out there listening right now who are livid with me. I can't believe Well, I'm telling you what the Word of God says. Do you want me to lie to you? If a house is on fire, do you want me to say, hey, it's not really on fire, just stay in it? Or do you want me to scream, fire, fire, get out of the house?
Right. So you brought in that you have a moral obligation to tell people their house is on fire.
And then what they do is up to them.
But what you just said just 30 seconds ago is so profound, because that destroys the bigotry argument, because you said that this is all payments are being paid in their bodies.
Right.
And when this sort of activity is driving up insurance rates,
right,
especially in Canada where we have rationed health care,
right,
and when the homosexual community is gobbling up so much of the health care budget, it's not bigotry, folks, if we have to pay for it.
That's right.
If everybody else has to pay for it, it's no longer bigotry. If it's just my opinion being forced on you, that's bigotry. When I have to pay for your activity, you cannot level the bigotry charge against us unless you are willing to take the full burden of the payment on society, culture, and my pocketbook.
And by the way, what Mike Shoesmith is saying is backed up by the Center for Disease Control.
That's true.
The Center for Disease Control. They have all the statistics. We've quoted them so many times here and on PP Simmons. The Center for Disease Control says that homosexuality, especially male-on-male homosexuality, is the leading progenitor of AIDS and other sexually transmitted diseases, and the most costly, and they go on and on with all these statistics to show how deadly this lifestyle is. Folks, that's a government institution. That's not a preacher, a crazy preacher on the radio. That's the Center for Disease Control. So I've quoted to you from that. I've quoted to you from the Word of God, and yet Danny Boy says, I can't think of a single reason. Well, we could talk about this all day, because I can think of many reasons. Let's go to the phones. We've got Brian, who's been